Oh, big dreamers, hey big dreamers, Jana Kingsford here, Chief Big Dreamer of the Internet. If we have not met, I was a high school dropout, teenage mom, shoe sales girl. I've not had a job since 2006, which is hedging on 14 years, is it? 13 years, hedging on 13 years this year. And I actually think it is 13 years, probably next year it's going to be 14 years that I have not had a job, but I've been self-funded, stay-at-home mum for that entire over a decade. Stalking, Wendy Jasper is in the house, she is stalking. It's not silent. It's not called stalking unless it's silent. It's called cheerleading. You are the best cheerleader ever. I love the vibes. It's enthusiastic, engaged enthusiasm. It's actually legit engaged enthusiasm, fully engaged. That is my entrepreneurial energy, by the way, which thank you so much for reminding me about that. Engaged, if you didn't know, like a few years ago I made this training called Me Times 3, and it really referenced and it really prioritizes your entrepreneurial energy, knowing your entrepreneurial energy of how you want to show up every day. My entrepreneurial energy is engaged enthusiasm, and this year I really kind of shifted it to, and not so much shifted, it went to the next level of that. It was what is the next level of that, and it's really just sunshinepreneur vibes, because it just is like rising above, because sometimes with an online business you are going to encounter things that kind of can make you a bitter cow. They could. You could be like so jaded and so jilted, because sometimes it can get like a little bit like nasty. Some people can be nasty, some people can be legit like nasty, and it can really like rattle you. And what I noticed is my superpower is to be super sunshiny and just rise above it and shine above it, and really just like dig into those sunshine vibes and just be a little ray of sunshine for yourself and others. To rise above it meant that it's connecting to the sunshine, because here's the deal: having an online business, you can actually get really jaded, you can get really jilted, because as you're working with more people, more human dynamics, more people projecting shit on you, more of that sort of stuff, you can fully get jaded, you can fully get jilted, and you can fully get really upset and really sad because it's not what you intended. And to rise above it this year, I really dug into my sunshiny vibes, because it's like, no, I really will go into my sunshiny vibes instead of my serious vibes, because that's one of these major things as an onliner, that you are an entrepreneur, you are a business, and when you are a business, you're dealing with more and more human dynamics, more and more human relationships. Leslie Christine in the house. Hi, popping by saying hi. Thank you so much for being here. So guys, what do you reckon about that? It's like you can have a tendency to go super serious in your business, or you can choose to obviously feel all the feelings, go to all the places that those things take you to, because as you grow in your business, the amount of human dynamics you're working with grows as well. And so you get to really evolve your processes and evolve your attitude and evolve your energy of how you're energetically showing up for yourself, for your clients, for your customers, for your community. Because if you get taken down by the seriousness that it can be being an entrepreneur and working with so many people and working with so many human dynamics and having life stuff and having your business stuff and having everything being interwoven, it can actually make you super jaded, super jilted. And if you do not have a frame of reference for really thriving and that's a word, that's Wendy's word, by the way. You must have manifested me saying that. But really committing to your entrepreneurial energy. And I know this is actually fully related to the title that I've got, is Fumbling to Flow. So we'll get to that in a minute. Wendy said, yep, love this, got to bring your own vibe. Yes, you get to choose your vibe, you get to choose your energy. And I really noticed that was a lesson that I learned years ago. A lesson that I learned years and years ago was I get to choose my entrepreneurial energy. And if I don't choose my entrepreneurial energy, I will be in default set point of like low vibe energy, because you can have these things like, so the other day I had the most amazing VIP day, right? Had the most amazing VIP day. It was just like, oh my God, you changed my life again and again and again. It's like, I cannot believe how many layers and levels there is to this. And when you think that you're done, there is just so much more to go to. And then Leslie said, I've definitely fumbled around. Hell yes, we all have. And I want to really offer you something around fumbling to flow, because this will help you to know exactly that we all deal with this fumbling and all deal with going from fumble to flow. And you can actually have patterns and times of the year where you fumble. And I want you to know, as an entrepreneur, being really, really, really tuned into those patterns of fumbling, and to know they're okay, and to be able to roll with them and actually be able to be ready for them as well. I think that's a really important point. By the way, I didn't even put that this is this number 25? I think this is number 25 of my 111 day Facebook Live quest, and I've been using them as my Facebook and my YouTube and my podcast, and I've been multi-purposing them with the intention of multi-purposing them, and I'm really, really happy. Wendy said, yes, if you don't choose it, the vibe will choose you and may not be the one that you want. Exactly. You can get sucked into the vortex of other people's opinions. You can get sucked into the vortex of other people's bad mouthing. You can get sucked into the opinions of other people's projections, and that's not going to be healthy for you, and that's not actually yours. It's not real, it's not yours. And you can choose how you show up, and you can choose how you get to be, and you can choose that you get to rise above it, and you get to choose the exact energy that you want to have for your day, because that's what's safe, that's what's good for your soul, and that's what's good for your spirit, and that's what's good for your truth, and that's what's good for you showing up and sharing despite it all and because of it all. So what I've noticed is, well, that was a very good line, wasn't it? I quite enjoyed that. I might stop and take a second for that. That was a really good one. I'll let that one sink in. That was really good. I need some water too. Pause for effect. So let's have a think about, before we get into this next point, have a think about where you fumble. What time, on the macro sense, in your business through the year, what's the time of fumbling to you? Is it your first quarter? Is it the last quarter of the year? Is it the middle quarter? Is it right now? Is it the third quarter? When is your pattern of fumbling, if you have been in the ring for a while? Because that's who I really work with now. You know, it's really, life workers are deep in the on the other side of what they've lived and learnt, and now they're ready to pass it on, and they're ready to actually really serve from that space. Because kind of a lot of the times that you were going through that stuff, you knew that one day down the track you were going to serve, and you were going to show up, and you were going to share what you were going through and growing through to get to the other side, so that you didn't become a bitter cow, and you became this amazing growth, expanded human being. And you want to share that stuff, because you can go two ways after going through shit in your life. You can become a bitter cow, or you can become better for it. Spa, not space. Wendy said, I love watching someone hop in the spa space, inspiring the lifestyles. Fully. I love it. I love it a lot. I love it. What is in the background? Oh yeah, you can see. I can't see it. I love. Okay. Entrepreneurial Energy wasn't a place that I thought that I was going to go to with this Facebook Live, but it seems to be the way that it's going. So, choose your entrepreneurial energy every day, and you get to choose that set point. So one of the things that I do, this is kind of like we're going from flow to backwards, and I'll talk about fumbling in a minute. But what I actually do is I have a really set entrepreneurial energy, that it's like getting to engaged enthusiasm. And when I'm not at engaged enthusiasm, what can I do to get into the state of engaged enthusiasm? I love it. How I didn't become a bitter cow. I know, Wendy, that could be totally the topic. Leslie said, yes, my struggles from last year brought me to what I'm doing now, and what I'm doing now is fascinating to me. Oh my gosh, of course. I even look at some of my clients, and I just think, you'd never be teaching the stuff that you've been teaching if you hadn't been going through the stuff that you've gone through. And I just noticed with every single life worker that I work with, everybody in LifeWorkers, in the course, which is my 6-figure framework for your life's work, if you're not already in, these two here that are live with me right now are in LifeWorkers. Oh my God, and of course. But every single one, I don't know if it's coincidence. Obviously it's not. But every single one has been through some big stuff, and everybody has been through big stuff, but this is like big stuff where they've come out the other side bigger, better, bolder, braver than ever before. They didn't come out bitter, they came out bigger and braver and bolder, and knowing they had something to share, and they were just motivated beyond you know, the surface level motivation. They were just intrinsically motivated from the inside out, and they had to get it out. And it just brings a different dynamic to these people that have been through this shit. And every single life worker has been through stuff because they've got these systems or processes or methods or frameworks to help you to grow through whatever you're going through. I need to say it's not that hot anymore, not that cold anymore, because the day is warming up. Leslie said, I don't do anything that I originally thought I would do. I did end up letting go of natural mama movement to create space for new stuff. Oh my gosh, Leslie, Christine, I love that. P.S. You did inspire me to hop into LinkedIn again. I've had my LinkedIn since 2010, I think. So, you inspired me to hop in and have a look at the LinkedIn because I haven't logged in for ages. So I logged in yesterday to have a look at it. I'm like, oh my God, this is so old. I was even promoting like my courses that I've created. It's Launch a Little Course and Big Dreams Bootcamp and Mum's Juggling School. That feels like a lifetime ago. So choose your energetic entrepreneurial energy. This is one of the things that is going to majorly help you with flow, because you can get into flow every day and you do not need to exist in extended periods of fumbling time. You can actually get yourself into flow by choosing your entrepreneurial energy. So entrepreneurial energy, choose it. What's yours? Mine's engaged enthusiasm, and it also has a twist of honey and sunshine at the moment. Like this is and every year you want to change it up a little bit to make it like have new levels and new layers. And my new layer now to the engaged enthusiasm is this honey, kind of like honey and sunshiny, and just making sure that, because there's so many things that can make us go so serious in our business, and it can actually feel really heavy. And when we get into that heavy, serious vibe, we're not always and often able to help in that way that we could, and that way that we are capable of helping, and that way that we're capable of serving. And really, unless seriousness and really deep, heavy, serious vibes are your thing, it's not going to serve your soul to serve in that way. So it's really about remembering to come back to that shiny side, that sunshiny side, no matter how serious things become and seems, you know, serious things seem to be. That's not going to be the stuff, that's not going to be the energy that gets you where you want to go, and that's not going to get you the energy that's going to help you to show up and serve every day and get beyond yourself and serve from that space. Leslie says, I have more than 2 times the followers in less than 3 weeks, and my stuff is getting loads of reach. Oh my God, that's so cool. Leslie said, I've gotten paying clients from there as well. Well, LinkedIn, let's all go and let's all go and watch the big dreamers on the LinkedIns. Mine's still got people from my wedding makeup days. If you just met me, I used to be a wedding makeup artist. That was one of my, you know, claims to fame, as in figuring out a way to make money while I was with my kids and basically on the weekends, and being a stay-at-home mum. So I had multiple businesses running at the same time. And that's what led me down the track to doing my life's work for a living. And that's the evolution of my business. So I was a high school dropout, teenage mum, shoe sales girl. I quit that, and I quit my job. I went and studied at university, and I figured out a way to make money from home and be a stay-at-home mum. And I've been doing that since 2006, and now it is 2019. So I've been doing that for that whole time, and there was only 6 weeks of that whole time where I didn't have a job. So I've been a self-funded stay-at-home mum. That was a major thing for me. I did not want to be a teenage mum that's now on the dole and getting supported in that way. So it's such a liberating feeling to know that I've figured out a way to do that while being at home. Okay. Leslie said I had to clean it up big time from my insurance day. Oh my God, yes. Mine needs to be cleaned up from my wedding makeup days. So yeah, and then my evolution was into, I did network marketing for Body Shop at Home, and then from that, people watched the way that I did makeup, and then I did weddings, and I started out charging $10 a face to charging $90 a face, becoming the top 9 wedding makeup artist in Queensland, in my state, in Australia, and within like a year. So I knew how to like move fast because I had all the internet, like not internet marketing, digital marketing things in place, and I knew how to get SEO, I knew how to advertise, I used all my skills. And then from the wedding makeup, then I created an online version of an online wedding booking service. It was online quote service. It was called Quotes for Brides. And then from that led me to, oh my God, I'm just going to do my life's work for a living. I'm just going to blog about stuff that I'm doing. I'm going to actually monetize the blog that I've been doing just for fun. And then so I started to monetize my blog, my mummy blog. And then that led into loving talking about business because that was my background, business and marketing, and then launching courses and then passing on what I was learning, and noticing that I did stuff differently to everybody else online. I was doing stuff so different that people were just fascinated with the way that I was teaching it. My ability to teach things and make them into actionable, practical, doable strategies is just beyond what anybody else can do in this way. Like, I make them actionable, I make them practical, I make them fun and super enjoyable, and something that you can kind of implement and straight away and get results straight away. Leslie said, part of what works for me about about LinkedIn is my corporate background. I feel like I can bring things in from that. Oh, I love that. So you can bring in the corporate background. I love that. I actually looked at the LinkedIn and I was like, I can see this. You know how I was talking about inside of social media nutcracking, I talked about the creation center as choosing what social media platform is your creation center. We go super deep on that inside of social media nutcracking. By the way, if you want the bundle and you are watching this, I'm selling it as a bundle at the moment with Me Brand Methods, social media nutcracking and LifeWorkers, if you want to have all three. But if you don't want to have all three, that you can contact me, and if you just want to have social media nutcracking. Anyway, social media nutcracking, I was talking about creation center and creating a creation center, and mine's Facebook. This is where I create all my content for the internet. I create my books, I create my courses, I create not my books, sorry, I create my videos, I create my blog posts, I create all the stuff on Facebook mainly. I even just recorded a YouTube video inside of one of my courses as like a little pop-up training inside of one of my courses, so that I'll put that on YouTube, because I studied and I looked at what are the keywords, and then I'm going to put that on YouTube. So this is the way that I roll, is really, this is the creation center for me, because showing up live is the easiest form of me posting live, writing live, recording live, and then I can multi-purpose it, and I find all these different purposes for it. Okay, I need to drink my coffee. Okay, what else? Oh, we haven't even got to the thing, fumbling to float. We'll talk about that in a second. My coffee's nearly cold because I've been talking for so long. So let me know where you're at with fumbling, where you're at with flow, what your entrepreneurial energy is. Like, let's workshop this a little bit. What are you vibing with as your energetic entrepreneurial energy of how you want to show up every day? And if you're not in that state, how do you get in that state? Let's talk about that. Let's also talk about fumbling to flow, some of the things to get you through those fumbling times in your business where you fumble. And also, number 2 of that, looking at the patterns of that. Is there patterns in your year where you are fumbling, and how can you counteract for that? How can you almost like arrange for it? What's the word where you say like arrange for that, or counteract it, or plan for that, and know that's when you do that, and not beat yourself up about it, but actually create like a sort of a plan for when you aren't fully in flow. So good. Okay. All right. Wendy Jasper said, I'm showing up as enthusiastically inspired. So this is so good. So this gives you an example. So for my state of my entrepreneurial energy is engaged enthusiasm. So it's having my coffee with engaged enthusiasm. It's coming here and like being so like, you know, that I'm like working near the spa and I've just got my own little area, and just like knowing that this is worth its weight in gold, me finding this little like, this little pattern of flow, and this like finding this flow to get me set up for the rest of when we go around Australia. So we've got 3/4 of the way around, and well, actually probably not quite 3/4, but like this is kind of the resting spot before you go on to like the next leg. The next leg is quite tricky because it's long distance and there's like few and far between, and this is our time just to kind of like sit and stay a little while and set. So what I was thinking, so this is why I came up with the fumbling to flow. The first quarter of this year, I was fumbling, but you know what's the best thing is, because I've been in business as a life worker for so many years now, I understand that I am actually the pinnacle, and I am the start and the finish of where this brand and business starts and ends. This is from me. My energy is so important, but we can freak the fuck out when we are fumbling because we're like, oh my God, our business exists because of us. Our business exists and because of our energy. And if our energy is gone, then we know that our businesses are going to suffer, and we can freak out during those fumbling phases. And especially if you're the breadwinner like me, I'm the breadwinner of the family, it all relies on me. But what I notice is freaking out never helps it. Freaking out during the fumbles never helps it. And I've also noticed that there is a pattern to it. So the pattern, actually, if you want to go, like, do you want to go really deep? Let's go really deep. The pattern of your fumbling is usually directly correlated with some deep shit that you've been through in your life. And a lot of the times, that's where your life work has come from. So this is the really interesting part. So for me, just to be real with you, for me, my first quarter of the year is when my mum left when I was a kid. So my mum left in the first, in the change of March, April. The March-April like switchover, that's when my mum left when I was a kid. And so then it was me, my dad and my brother. And so my dad brought up me and my brother, and then when I was 15, I was kicked out because I was wagging school and spending time with Mark, my husband, who became my husband. I knew what I was doing. I got kicked out of home and I went and lived with my mum for a little while. Didn't quite work out, but then I went and lived with Mark, and I was like 15, and we travelled down to Melbourne, spent a year in Melbourne, long story. Those are lots of long stories around that. But now that's actually March, April is when I dropped out of school. So the end of March, I got to the end of March and I dropped out of school before the first term finished in year 12. So I didn't finish school. So I was a high school dropout. That was so essentially so many layers and levels. You can see when my mum left when I was a kid between March and April. So this is deep shit. As a life worker, it's relevant. So I give myself some leeway. I understand that my deep shit correlates when I'm going through that time of the year where there's pattern recognition, there's memories, there's, even when I didn't know, it took me a good 3 or 4 years of actually lapsing in January, February, March, not lapsing as in like alcoholic, but lapsing and as in like not showing up in the way that I know that I can show up, or feeling really discombobulated, or really feeling all the feelings and not knowing why I'm just like can't get it fucking together in January, February, March. Like January is good, and then February is just like and then March is like and I'm trying and I'm fumbling. There is little hints of flow, but it's just not like, you know, this when I've come out the other side of it. And because you are a life worker, this is also relevant. This is also a part of the whole thing, is you are going to every new year, I go to new layers, but at the same time, I go to new levels dealing with the old things again and again and again. And just knowing all those big pivotal parts of my life, when I dropped out of school, when I found out that I was pregnant with my daughter when I was a teenager, is in January. And at the end of January, I found out. When I lost my job because I was pregnant and a teenager, it was March. When my mum left, it was between March and April. And then that manifests itself later on that I dropped out of high school around that time. And that later on manifests itself as I left my husband when we had our whole shebang in 2015. I've talked about that briefly around my internets, and that's kind of like Broken to Blessed is based on that, you know, basically breaking down, and then also having a, breaking of my marriage. And so that was in the end of March, start of April. So it was when these things start to happen and you're just like doing a lot of inner work, you start to figure out, holy shit, there is these patterns are in sync with this shit that you've gone through at those sorts of stuff. So I want you to really see, because what I want you to do is to be able to navigate the world of a life worker. The life worker's journey is a really deep journey where you are going to have to dive into shit that you thought that you could let sit. And that's not going to fly as a life worker, because when you are making a living doing what you love based on what you've lived and learnt through, you are going to new layers and new levels of understanding of why you went through that and what you learnt from that and how you evolved past that, or how, and how it's coming up and how it continues to. So I want you to remember that there is certain times where you will fumble, and some people can look at it from a really surface level aspect. Some people can go, you know, we're fumbling, we're procrastinating. Well, let's just do some time management hacks. Let's just do some procrastination hacks. And that's not getting to the guts of it. As a life worker, we know there's something bigger there. We know there's something bigger in play there. What I noticed for me also, like, it's just, if I can recognize the root cause of the effect and how it's affecting my ability to show up in an active income stream, doing what I love for a living, doing my life's work, it is going to be, I am actually going to be bringing up all this stuff. So I really want you to remember that fumbling is actually something where you can really dig in, and you can really dig in, go to those deeper layers and do like really deep work on yourself and with yourself and working with the way that you work to be able to figure out how you can evolve to the next set point for yourself, how you can go to the next level, how you become more and more and more capable of your big dreams to go to the next level, what is capable and what is available for you. And my fumbling is the first quarter of the year, and I don't say it while I'm in it. Like, I don't say I'm fumbling, because that just exacerbates it. But I also understand I've got a higher level of awareness that, oh, this is just my fumble period. I will be in flow soon. Flow is coming, flow is here, it's coming. And then I deal with the shit that's coming up, and I work through it, and I work through it externally, I work through it internally, I work through all the levels, mental, physical, energetical, spiritual. And I work it from all the levels of mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, energetical, all the layers, all the levels. And I know and I trust that I will find flow and I will slip into flow, but I've just got to navigate this part. And the lessons that I'm living again and again and again are going to bring more potency, more power, more dynamicness to my work, to my life's work, because what I live, it becomes my work, and my work becomes my life, and it all gets to help it out. It all gets to add more dynamicness into my work and makes it this potent, powerful experience that I really can pass on, right? So I always know that. It is helping me to go to a new level. So when you're fumbling and those patterns of time when you do fumble, work out, know that no one trusts that you are going to find flow. And the other thing, oh my God, I can't wait to read these comments. And then the other thing is, this year was the first time I circumnavigated it before going through it. So instead of resisting it, so you can resist these things. You can resist, like, no, this first quarter of this time of fumbling for me, this pattern for me, not going to happen this time. You can resist it or you can accept it. The opposite of resistance is acceptance. So I accept this happens at this time, and I know it affects my ability to show up. So I accept it, and that acceptance actually helps me to move through it, but it also helps me to plan for it. So what I did at the end of the last year, because I know that's when I'm fully in flow, October, November, December, I'm just like slaying the internet. I'm completely in flow. I always have my biggest month evers in October, November, December. It's where everything that I've done for the whole year stacks up and all comes to fruition. It's when I just really hit the ground running. I'm just so inspired for my work. I'm just in love with it. I'm in love with my life's work, and I'm producing the best content of my life, and I'm really feeling it, and I'm really piggybacking on the work that I've done in the center of the year, because the center of the year is where I really just serve, and like exactly this time and period of my year is where I really serve. And so I set myself up with the most amazing, I did a 6-figure launch. I did 105K sales received launch. So I did a 6-figure launch but in October, November, December for Mission 9. And I set myself up for 2019 before 2019 hit, because I know I fumble in the first quarter. So when you know these things, you can plan for these things and you can get ahead of it. And that was the first year that I've ever get ahead of it. And so it's been so helpful for me to actually have the space to work through my shit in the first quarter while I still showed up. And obviously I wasn't showing up every day, but I still showed up. And while I was working on my shit, while I was dealing with my shit, while I was and teaching from those set points. And you'll notice my posts from January, February, March are always more deep, meaningful, life-orientated, belief-orientated sort of work. So let's read the comments. historically, patternistically, I'm all into patterns. Oh my God, this is so good. Okay. And so my middle of the year is usually really strategic. So this is where I'm like talking about like social media and branding and business and all those sorts of things in the middle of the year. And then at the end of the year, I kind of like piggyback on it. It's like, do you want to go to the next level of it? All right. So what did you say here? Okay, Leslie said, I feel like I'm finding flow. I fumbled at the beginning of the year because I was switching my focus big time. Yeah, so switching the focuses at the start of the year, but that might not be your full, like the fumbling thing. It might have been like just a temporary fumble, but I'm getting all voxes in my clients. Don't they know that I'm live? Feeling like I'm finding flow. I fumbled at the beginning of the year because I was switching my focus big time. Yeah, that can be like, it can be a discombobulated time just because of the first quarter vibes. Wendy said, usually I slump in the middle of the year, but finding you has really shifted that and put a firecracker up my butt. Oh my God, we're so happy for Wendy Jess for having a firecracker up your butt. It's my favorite marketing term of my life. Leslie Christine says, interesting, I'm not sure about the time of year my mum left, never thought about it before. Yes. So I didn't think about it until the pattern just became unignorable. And yeah, it just become unignorable. And I figured out like I've got like this really, like it's one of my gifts, it was one of my genius zones to recognize patterns. Pattern recognition is my jam. That's why I can remember every single month of my life's work business. You name a month and I'll tell you what I was selling, and I tell you what I was sharing, and I would tell you what I was doing, and I would tell you kind of what was going on in my life in that month. I know from the last 5 years exactly, because I'm in my life's work and I've just got this pattern recognition that is beyond, like I thought it was normal. But I asked my friends in business, I'm like, what were you doing March 2014? They're like, I don't know. I was like, I know exactly what I was launching. I know exactly what I was doing. I know exactly what was going on in my life as well. October 2014, I know exactly what was going on. July 2016, I know exactly what I was doing. I was doing a workshop in Gold Coast for Launch a Little Course, and it sold out within a day. I had my first day away from my kids that month. I had meditated in June for every single day for 3 hours in June for that inspired idea to come to me. October 2016, when I wrote my #1 best-selling book, that's easy to remember, Unjuggled, that's when I really popped myself out of the vortex and really brought myself back to life and really had my breakthrough. And that is also after I had the #1 best-selling book. That's when I got the idea to travel around Australia, and that's when we sold our house and we changed our lives. And yeah, we completely changed our lives, and we completely became new human beings from that experience of traveling around Australia. June 2017, we were here. We were actually here. We were in this place right here. Leslie said, we have multiple years in a row of fourth quarter struggles. Oh, there you go. So this will be like what new levels and new layers can you go to every fourth quarter, and also what can you do in the third quarter and the second quarter right now when you're at your best. What can you do to create it's almost like a space. It gives you space. So I really wanted to have space, not stress, because every first quarter, the stress of it makes shit worse. So instead of stress and not having the space to do what I want and deal with it, this has been the best year ever. Even though I had my biggest fumble ever, there was no stress because I had the space to really work on it, and really I set myself up, and I'm so proud of myself. Wendy Jasper said, usually in the middle of the year slump because it's cold. Wow, I never noticed that. And feeling cold means I'm not living the life I felt I should be living, as I would be on holiday somewhere if I was living that life. So it becomes a real good mirror. Like the weather becomes a mirror for you, that this is actually not what you pictured for this time. This was not what you pictured for your life. So Wendy Jasper said, so totally makes sense to plan my Bali retreats in May and August. Yeah, hell yes. You can make, oh, hi Jessica Kim, hi Maria, hi everybody. Oh my God, we've been going really deep in this Facebook Live. This has been super deep. What have we covered? We covered like some deep stuff. Oh my God, some really deep stuff. Okay, I'm getting Voxer messages and I'm making sure that I'm not reading them at the same time. I nearly went to read that Voxer message and I was like, whoops, that's not Voxer. So, when you can know your patterns, and this is like really comes down to the big dreams cycles. Oh, hey JK, Jessica Kim is JK, I'm JK. I love how we're both JK. Your cycle, like your big dream cycles of going from big dream to belief to taking action to resistance, hitting resistance hardcore usually happens after you've taken action hardcore. Then you hit resistance hardcore, and then a lot of people go back and play the same game again. Big dream, set your big dream, build up the belief, take some action, hit resistance, off we go back to the start again. But then there's some that can actually get out the other side, that can melt through the resistance, recognize that resistance, the opposite of resistance is acceptance. So whatever the fears are, whatever the patterns are, it's fully accepting these patterns, these fears, accepting them and actually reworking and working with them and figuring out a way. Sometimes it's not about shifting them. Sometimes it's about actually accepting them, working with them, working around them, instead of trying to put all your energy and effort into completely shifting them, especially if they're core beliefs. If they're core beliefs, it is really tricky to shift these core beliefs. So if you go into, and this is the journey of a life worker. Why is this relevant? Because as a life worker, I tell you what, it is not for the faint-hearted. You are going to be dealing with your shit. If you do not want to deal with your shit and go to new levels and layers and understanding and evolve to new levels of your life's work and doing what you love for a living and really helping people and serving people through what you've lived through and learnt through, because life workers are not life workers if they've not lived through shit. Like life workers, you need to have lived through something really significant, which most of us have. But there's also people that, you know, you can get to like 35 and not have experienced massive big shit. You can get to 35 and not have any significant shitty experiences in your life that you've had to learn through and live through. Online businesses, anybody can make a six-figure online business, but not everybody can make an online, organic, six-figure framework from their life's work and do what they love for a living, truly what they love for their living. Every single part of your business is what you love to do and how you love to do it and how you love to serve, and it feels really service-based. It feels like you're really serving and showing up and getting beyond yourself and getting beyond your shit and working on your shit so you can serve at a higher level, at a deeper level. So like I was saying before, me fumbling through the first quarter of the year is because of the shit that I've been through in my life, and it's always in that quarter of the year. And so I'm dealing with shit. I'm dealing with that stuff at the same time of showing up and serving and knowing that I've given myself space and I've given myself time to work through that stuff. Because as a life worker, it is so important that you are going to have this duality. You're going to have this duality of when you are launching something that might be really close to your spirit, really close to your soul. This is what happens with the life worker. This is what happens why people retract from life's work and they continue to do the surface level work. They continue to do what some people call the shadow work. So say, for example, you have life's work to pass on and you just are a social media agent and you just do people's social media work for them, but you actually have deep life work and you go in to do the life work, you go in to launch that stuff, and it actually causes you to go into a deep spiral of working on your shit again and again and again. So every time, I say for somebody who has written a book that's really deep, like even with my Broken to Bliss, I have to live that shit again. I'm retracing my steps, I'm retracing my energy, and sometimes the lines can be blurred about, am I experiencing this right now, or am I writing about this right now, or am I experiencing this so I can write about it, or am I actually re-experiencing it? Am I retracing it? Am I re-bringing into my experience? Do I really want to write this book, Broken to Bliss, because it brings back into my experience these things? So I'm working with the resistance right now, and it's like fear and it's resistance, and that's on top of layers of doing other things in my business. So the book is here, and then there's the levels of, launching life workers, and then there's the levels of showing up on social media, and then there's the levels of the big dream that we're living in the manifestation of right now, is traveling around Australia. So you've got all these multiple levels and multiple layers of all the shit that you're dealing with, all the shit that you're working on, and it's about being able to decipher and to be able to distinguish what you're actually living and what you're actually passing on. And that's the life worker's dance, is really being able to go to those places to heal in deeper ways, so you can so you can pass them on from different perspectives, from different set points. So you will reach resistance as a life worker, no matter what book or course or coaching you are launching, around your life's work, you are going to be reliving that shit again. And that's what is really hard about it, especially with the book, you having to especially if it's a super deep. That's why I've always written surface level books up until this point, because it is deep and it takes me time. Oh, hi Carly Marie, hello. It takes me time to, like, it feels like sometimes the lines are blurred of, am I living this again? Am I retracing my steps? That is the dance of a life worker. It's really fucking hard sometimes, because you're like, am I retracing it? Am I re-experiencing it? What's right now? What was then? And it's blurring the lines because you're digging in to retrace it, to re-feel it. And every time you are passing on your work, still haven't got my badge. What is going on with that? Just do 50 million comments. It may work. With 4 or more words. That's what I've actually noticed. By the way, do you guys want a quick little Instagram and a Facebooky tweet? Let's do that. Let's take it down a notch. Oh my God, we're getting deep, but we can keep it deep. But see how I'm like into a super deep topic, and then I'm like, let's just like surface level it for a second and go to social media tips. Let's like surface level it again. But Instagram and Facebook actually only recognize 4-word responses, minimum 4-word responses. Anything else they think is spam. Just figured that algorithm out. So when I'm replying to comments, I usually try to, if you haven't noticed, use more than 4 words. If you didn't know. So Carly's like such a fast learner. Oh, more words, here we go. So guys, okay, so Jessica Kim said, I'm taking action now. What did you get from that? I just did a really big download around life's work and about living through it and reliving it and retracing steps and resistance and then all these things. What are you getting from this? What are you getting from that? Like me just riffing on that. Let me know. I'd love to know what you're getting from that. Hey everybody, if you're watching, say hi, come by, say hi. Jessica says, I'm taking action now in preparation for anniversary of Ruby's passing coming up soon. So many big hugs. Knowing I have my 8 days NLP training and it's on that date, and I really want to be present but also honor it, and I can see myself getting a bit more reflective and deeper in my content coming up from that. Yes. And the reflective and the depth, that comes from you being, like, you really going to new layers and levels of healing and working through it. Whew! Christina said, yes, slowly working on my book at the moment and digging deep back into the trauma and unpacking it all. Exactly. So really, as a life worker, literally, it is such a privilege to buy the works of art that life workers create. You know why? They've lived it, they've learnt from it, and then they're fucking passing it on again for you, but they're packaging it up. And you know what it takes as a life worker? You are offering such a service. You are being so much service to actually, because we've got to relive it, we've got to retrace it, we've got to re-experience it as we write about it, as we talk about it, as we speak about it. So it is such a privilege to be able to buy something that a life worker creates for you, because they are really coming from a space of they've worked on their shit, they're working on their shit. And the more, as a life worker, I cannot tell you, actually I can guarantee every year as a life worker you will do more and more inner work. I promise you that. Whatever inner work you're doing right now and whatever level of business you have now, your life worker's business growth is directly proportionate to your growth. And your growth will be directly proportionate to the level of healing, the level of work you're doing on yourself. So it's in tandem. Your business grows. A life worker's organic online business grows at the rate you grow. So if it's not growing, where are you not growing? Where have you not experienced growth? Where are you not getting into the cracks and the crevices of these places and these parts of you that have got more growing to do? Because online, organic, life workers, business models, the growth of it is directly proportionate to you. I know for a fact, when my business is growing, I've gone to new depths, new breadths, new widths of doing the belief work on myself, the energy work on myself, the identity work on myself, the release work. I'm doing new levels, new layers, more time, more energy, more deliberateness, like being more deliberate with my days every single day, more deliberate, more deliberate, more deliberate. I know for a fact my business grows in direct proportionate to that. And when I'm not doing that, my business will dip or it will plateau. And that will be very directly proportionate to the level of work I'm doing on myself. So your business as a life worker, the growth of your business, the startup of your business, the scaling of your business, it's all on you, which means that it is such a privilege, such an honor to buy something from a life worker who is willing to, able to, and open to go to the depths, go to the widths, go to the breadths of doing the work on themselves so they can produce a body of work from what they've been through, from what they've grown through, and pass it on to something that can help you, whatever you're growing through, whatever you're going through. And that's why it's such this beautiful ecosystem when the life workers are in the ecosystem, and we've got stuff for people going through this, and we know that when they're an organic online business, we're going to love the way that they're doing it and love the way they're delivering it, because it's such a hearted way to deliver content. It's such a hearted way to do your life's work for a living. This life workers thing, Jessica Kim says, this life worker thing has installed so much new confidence in myself. My life learnings are just as important as my educational learnings, if not more. Huge mindset shift has occurred. Oh my God. So here's the thing. Here is the thing. This is where certificates, bachelor degrees, certifications become absolutely irrelevant, because have they lived that? I remember back in the day, I knew somebody who lost somebody. They went to a counselor who has never lost it, and she asked her, have you ever lost a significant person in your family? Well, I lost my great grandma. It's like, then you cannot possibly know what I am going through. You may have learnt the textbook stuff, and the shit that you're saying to me is textbook, but you cannot possibly resonate with me. You cannot possibly help me, because you have not been through what I've been through. That's where I see as a mentor is exactly the same. As a mentor, the women that are coming to me, the people that are coming to me for work one-on-one, I've been through the shit that you are going through. I know exactly when you say something about something and you're like, this is what I'm experiencing. I'm like, boom, I know exactly what you're experiencing. I know exactly where you are. I know exactly what that feels like, because I've been through that too. I've gone through that too. And here's what I did. As a mentor, you pass it on in, here's what I did, and here's what I've learned from it, and here how I lived through it and got to the other side of it. And there is so much freaking value in that. It's different to somebody who is teaching from a textbook, who is teaching from what they've learnt. That is not a life worker. A life worker has got to have lived it, learnt from it, and now be on the other side of it, and they can help you in such a deeper capacity than anybody who has learnt it and never lived it. And I can say this with full execution, because I have got a university degree in a Bachelor of Communication, and before I lived it, there was no way that I could ever pass it on in the capacity that I pass on what I've learnt now. Because I learnt all this shit, but I hadn't lived it. So I had a completely different level and layer of understanding as what I do now. Now I've lived it. Now I use my university degree for all the people that care about that shit. But now I use it in a way that, like, oh my God, I trusted I needed to do that, but I wasn't actually doing it for the uni degree because I didn't think there was any relevance of doing that then. It was only for me to prove a point that you can go from high school dropout to university graduate as a teenage mum and all those things. That's why I did it. I didn't really do it for the degree. Now the degree comes into play because I've lived it and because I've learnt from it, and now I can just put that on as a little cherry on top, like I've got a uni degree, even though if I had taught this shit straight after my uni degree, I didn't know shit from clay if I tasted it, because I had never lived it. So this is what a life worker does. They've lived it. Because look at the thing, look at the people. Like when this person that I knew who had lost somebody really close went out looking for a professional, they couldn't find a professional that they could resonate with because they'd never lived it. But what if we go looking for a life worker who has lived that actual thing, who has lived through it? What if we find that person? Imagine, it's like finding gold. It's like finding the missing link. It's like finally figuring out how you can get through this, and actually having a beautiful model of somebody showing and shining a light on, I know what you're feeling, I know what you're going through, legit know what you're going through. Not just platitudes, not just like, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be okay, from people that have no clue what you're going through. Okay. by the way, LifeWorkers, the 6-figure framework for your life's work, we are going to get started with the preparatory training on Friday if you want to be there for it. I haven't got the official start date of the modules, but I'm just throwing pop-up trainings in there every single day from now until when we start. So if you want to get a head start and get prepped for LifeWorkers, the 9 modules that I'm delivering over 3 weeks, get in there now. Once I really settle on the date, I will let you know. Okay, what is the time? Okay, we're good. Jessica and Simon put such a beautiful value on what I've experienced that wasn't so easy. Oh my gosh, I cannot even imagine, Jessica. And I'm so grateful. Thank you. Leslie Christine says, I can remember sitting at the kitchen table in the house I loved before it flooded and commenting on one of your videos about knowing I should be sharing different things that I just wasn't ready to share yet. Ah, Leslie, oh my God, that's amazing. That's beautiful. And it's so weird because it's like maybe you, in your experience, you knew you were a life worker, but you hadn't lived that life of your house flooding, renting having the RV. I don't know if you rented it or just bought it. Having the RV and then completely changing your life from that moment. And I actually remember those moments, you commenting, and I remember knowing you had something special to share, not knowing what that was, because you don't know until you've done it. You don't know until you've lived it. You don't know until you've gotten on the other side of taking a shit ton of action. When you do not know the answers, I have only one answer for you: take action. The answers are in the action. So if you do not know who you're here to serve, well, then you're not mean serving in your current state, in the moment right now, and you need to take more action now so we can know that. We need to get the feedback. Randy said, me neither, where's my badge? Randy, Jasper, Carly Marie, Facebook, give them badges, please. They are top fans. I tell you that right now. Yes, Christina says, I say that to people all the time, work with someone that has lived it because they know all the real life aspect of it. Exactly. They don't know the technical, practical application of the shit people learn. But it's like, how can you be a drug and alcohol counselor if you've never actually experienced what's that like to recover from that and come back from that? How can you be a grief counselor if you've never lost a significant other? You can't have just learnt that shit. You've got to have lived it to be able to really have a significant impact on somebody's life and really help them out. How can you be a business mentor if you've never fucking started a complete business except teaching other people how to start business? That's actually what really shits me. That used to shit me because I came into this world, this online business coaching world, with several successful businesses in different fields and different industries. Some people have online coaching businesses, which blows my mind, and they've never had a successful business in any other industry except teaching people how to have a successful business because they've learnt it. They've never lived it, they've learnt it, and it is easy to sit up on the pedestal and gives all these frameworks without never have living it, right? They're not a life worker. That's okay. Like, I mean, there's so many people that have created 6-figure businesses, online businesses, through teaching shit they've learnt. That's not a life worker. That is an online business. Simple as that. It's an online business. It is an internet marketer. It is someone who has not lived it. It is somebody who, I've had people back in the day who took some of my marketing programs, went into them and sold them on, basically, changed the wording, and went and sold their own of the exact framework that I taught them. But they've never got one sale from that system because they weren't learning the system. Like my business butterfly effect, I had several people go through that and practically just steal it and then pass it on. You kind of get used to that after a while of being online. And like I said at the start of this Facebook Live, I was saying about, like, you can get so jaded, so jilted, so bitter as an onliner because of the people copying you, of people passing on your stuff and not actually attributing to it you, not referencing you, actually going and doing your courses. Like, people would launch a little course and then go teach people how to launch courses, and they only got one sign up from their launch. Or people can go and try and have an online business, fail at an online business, so then all the stuff that they've learned of how to have an online business, they go and just teach that. They go and just pass it on. I had to come to terms that that's all well and good, but they do not qualify as a life worker, that's for sure, because they've not lived it. It's a simple framework. Are you a life worker or not? If you are a business, like I become a business coach because I've had several successful businesses that were not business coaching. So when you are hiring a business coach, make sure they've had successful businesses. And successful is like, you know, it's not a number. It's just like they've had some success. They've had some success. It's not like so many people just give up and then they go, I'm just going to go and teach business coaching because that's how you make money online. Man, oh man, don't get me started. Who has experienced that? And obviously as a life worker, you're more privy to that. You understand. Yes, the business, Christina says, yes, the business coaching one pisses me off as well. It does to me as well. But I mean, if people are not going to understand, if people are going through going for things that look good, things that look shiny, things that are very marketed well, and not go and do their research, I mean, that's on them. Wendy said, haha, that so pisses me off. Biz mentors that had no businesses. Even the worst is when they fail at trying to have a business and then they become a business coach because, oh, that's how you can make money. Oh my God, don't even get me started. That's why I mean a life worker has lived it. So you've lived the ebbs and the flow and the fails and the wins and the dips and the plateaus and the heartache and the business and the human dynamics of building a business, building a successful business. And then you're like, I've lived it. I've learnt from it. Now I shall pass it on because I just want to be there. So for me, one of my major things, so for me, when I was going through this huge thing, when I left internet marketing and I deleted my mummy blog and I deleted all these things that I'd spent years creating and building up and turning into a thriving business, and I just deleted them and I was trying to pivot to personal branding, and I was dipping and I was plateauing and I was dipping and I was like, oh my God, and I was like going through all these like crisis of beliefs and crisis of self and sense of self stuff and crisis of belief, and I didn't know who I was, and I realized that a personal brand is based on you knowing who you were and who you are, and I'm like, I don't know who I am. Oh my God, I didn't know this. I didn't know that I didn't know this much about myself. I thought that I was being myself, but I'm like, is that really me? I don't even know. And I'm going through a crisis of belief, a crisis of self, a sense of self stuff, trying to build a personal brand. Nobody tells you that there's a massive dip when you go from, it's like a ring of fire when you go from having a business to having a brand. And there's this ring of fire, and I was like, nobody is talking to this. Nobody is talking to the personal development and the physical, mental, emotional breakdown that one has when they have to break free and blow up all their past beliefs, all their past ways of doing business, and completely change the structures in your mind and your actions in your business, and completely change them to become a brand, and completely unlearn everything that you've learnt, everything that you've experienced up until this point, and become somebody brand new and do things in such a brand new way that really feel uncomfortable and feel against everything that you've known. And in that you have to separate yourself from people that you've been close from and close to, because they're really not understanding the way that you're doing things. They're really not understanding this ridiculous concept of being yourself, and being yourself like it's very embarrassingly unprofessional. And when I moved into personal branding, it was this ring of fire, and I was like, nobody is speaking to this. But behind the scenes, I knew that I knew so many people going through these like behind the scenes massive breakdowns, marriage breaks up. Look at how many online people have like broken marriages now, and they never talked of that. It's just that the other side of it, you see the broken marriages, and you see like the breakdowns, and you see the like the messiness. Being not like me knowing that shit was going on, but then knowing that none of that was coming to the forefront, I was like, I need to speak on this. When I get through this, I know that I'm living this for a reason. I know that I'm living this for a purpose, and I will pass it on down the track. But fuck, it's hard to go through. Oh my God, it's hard to grow through. And I know that I know that I will pass it on later on, but it was like, why do I need to go through this? Why couldn't somebody else be teaching this? Because I would have saved myself so much heartache. If I knew the things I know now, I would have saved myself so much heartache. So much heartache, so much trauma, so much torment. If I knew the things that I know now, I really would. It would have shortened the journey, and that's what I do for my clients. I shorten, and through producing these things like LifeWorkers, I set you up in such a way that you really don't need to go through that shit to the level of what I went through, because I lived through it, I've learned through it, and now it has a purpose. It has a purpose that you can evolve from that. You can use what I've been through to evolve from that, and you can use that so that you don't need to go through it. I just want you to know that. Oh my God, guys, I think this is really deep Facebook Live. I love it. Christina says, so what are we thinking about that? What are you driving with? What's coming up for you? What is resonating with you? I just love to know. Let's do that. Let's do some reading time. Let's see what you guys have got to say. So Christina says, yes, I say that to people all the time. Work with someone that has lived it. Because they know all the real life aspect of it. Yes, they do. So Jessica Kim says, I was looking in all the right places, all the wrong places for who I could help, and the more I share, the more people going through real hard, tough stuff are reaching out to me for support and guidance. I can't believe the people I've heard from since sharing my experiences. It's amazing, isn't it? And you realize, oh my God, my sharing is of so much service, and it doesn't need to be strategic to be service. Me showing up and sharing can be even, like I even just heard recently of somebody that had been watching me for 2 years and then lost somebody very close to them, and she had the personal development. I was like the gateway drug to personal development for her, and so she's been learning about gratitude and just the basic stuff like gratitude and the 5 4 3 2 1 thing from Mel Robbins, and just some of the resources that I've shared as gateways into the personal development world. And you don't realize that because they never say that, or especially the newbies, they don't often. You guys are amazing cheerleaders because you're part of the Big Dreamers communities, and you're probably part of some of my clients' communities. There's like crossover of ecosystems and things like that, which is so amazing of the Big Dreamers. And you're part of multiple ecosystems, which is the best place to be because you're tapping into so many different ecosystems that is what's available to you of women doing business the way that I'm doing business, organic and online, and life workers. They can do it however they want, but there's just this sense of realness that the way they're doing business and organicness. Jessica Kim says, fully deep live, JK. Thank you, Jessica. I'm so happy. Thank you. I didn't expect this. Christina says, yes, the business coaching one pisses me off as well. Oh my God, I didn't know. I thought I'd read that one. Oh, I read Wendy's. Okay. Leslie said, I went through a time where I felt like only business coaches made money, and that's definitely not me. No, exactly. And I love that I've always had a framework of Marion Rose. I was like, she made a 6-figure business on parenting. So it definitely does not need to be business coaching. Jessica Kim does that too as well. And my 6-figure business actually to start with was on juggling kids. So there. Juggling the kiddies, juggling routines and time management and stuff like that. Christina said, it is really me or the roles I've learned to play through my life. Nothing like having a business to help you start unpacking that. Oh yeah, because that's what I mean. As a life worker, your business growth is directly proportionate to your personal growth, and that's why personal growth is so important as a life worker. Because if we want our businesses to grow, as we want our brands to grow, as we want our life workers' business to grow, we've got to grow in direct proportion to how much we want to grow, and that is uncomfortable because with growth comes growing pains. Jessica Kim says, sometimes I feel stuck in the ring of fire because I'm trying to become a personal brand and also running a business. I'm finding my business is just getting run a bit more freedom, but sometimes that's a lot of resistance. Yeah, and there's going to be ebbs and flows of that, and you're so tapped into so many resources that are going to really help you to get through that. And just because we've been through the ring of fire, it's just like, just because somebody has, gone through that ring of fire doesn't make it any easier, the ring of fire that you get to go through. It just helps you with resources to grow through it and get through it, and also not feel so alone. I guess in the end of it, like, we share our stories because we don't feel so alone. And everybody is, especially with social media, if you think about it, social media there's such a thing about, like, everybody talks about, you don't need to share that on Facebook, especially like, when people get divorced or something like that, and they're like, you don't share it all over Facebook. Don't share the real. It's like, so there's so many people that are suffering in silence and not sharing their suffering, and then also so many people suffering in silence because nobody is sharing about their suffering too. Do you know what I mean? So there's so much value in, like, what if somebody shared that, like, their details of their, not so much details of the divorce, just like the realness of a divorce or whatever, or a realness of whatever, the realness of what their life's work, what they're doing, and somebody can read that and be like, oh my God, she feels that too, or oh my God, like, there's so many elements of that. There's so many elements where it's you sharing is so much of service, even if it's not strategic, even if it's not mapped out, even if it doesn't seem to have a purpose or have a point. It's you sharing, and somebody may read that, and most of the time they won't comment if it's really deeply resonant with them. Sometimes they won't actually comment, and so we've got to actually understand that we're doing it for the deeper purpose of it, that knowing that we did not go through this, and some people's purpose is not to share from their growth. It is actually not. But if you are being called to it, it is. That's the simpleness of it. Okay, guys. So, I don't know if you've heard, but LifeWorkers, the 6-figure framework for your life's work, we are launching it. It is extracting so much goodness from me. Let me know if you're in LifeWorkers and are super excited and what you're feeling around LifeWorkers and how that's changed you. And let me know down below, and I'm going to copy and paste your comment, and I'm going to put it into like Instagram or Instagram stories. I'm really actually trying to share so much of the love that I'm getting lately. I'm making because I want to actually, so I'm putting like kudos or something. I put it on my Instagram stories. I'm like sharing when people do a post. I'm finding it every day, somebody sharing something really amazing about what I'm doing and how I've helped them. And it's just, I have to tell you, it never gets old. It really doesn't get old, and I really never get any less excited about it. I really want to focus on that. I really like to focus on that, because sometimes like I can be like changing people's lives and doing all this amazing stuff, and then I'll like trip myself up, and my trip switch will get tripped, and then I go off into negative spaces. And what's really amazing for me is just to come back to see how much I've helped people, and me sharing that and having those little highlight stories on my Instagrams that I've just been doing for like the last 2 weeks is just making a concerted effort to reshare everything that you share. So thank you so much. Like I so appreciate it. It just is like really filling me up and actually extracts more from me for you. So I hope that helps. Thank you so much. Yeah, when I had, Leslie said yes, when we had the food stuff going on, I tapped into online communities and was shocked how many people had the same challenges. Yes, it's like, oh my god, I've been suffering alone all this time because I actually haven't reached it out, or I'm not the only one. And online gives us the ability to reach so many people. So I would have never been able to meet all you guys if not for social media, and if I didn't show up in social media the way that I show up, I would never have had these relationships that I get to have and meet the people that I get to meet. It's like finding my peoples on the internet is such a gift. Christina says, so make sure who's in LifeWorkers and what are you most excited about? And if you want to get into LifeWorkers, make sure you message me. If you're one of the few who has not messaged me yet, message me and make sure you get yourself in LifeWorkers. It is going to absolutely change your life. There is a weekly payment plan. There's also a full payment plan, obviously. And I'm just shifting into really creating these prep workshops for everybody. So I think I'm actually driving that we may start the first training on Monday and have the second training on next Tuesday. So like I said, there's going to be 3 trainings a week for 3 weeks to roll out LifeWorkers. So I'm feeling the vibes for next week, but I don't know if it's too early. I just don't know. We'll see. Christina said, yes, I've seen one of the people I know has separated from her husband, and there's so much mystery around it. And I, with online businesses, I realize, and I know the stories behind the scenes of so many people that are suffering and with their relationships, and their husbands cannot handle them showing up and being the breadwinner, Can relate as I have 2 hats on, the biz and the biz partner and the personal brand. So yes, to a bit of being torn in both ways, yes. The trick to a personal brand is to make everything a part of your brand. So nothing gets separated off. It's just a new mindset to shift into. Leslie's off to dinner. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much everybody for being here. Oh my god, this is a great Facebook Live. It was deep, it was meaningful. We went over fumbling, we went over patternistics of when you do fumble, when you trip and when you fall. We went over the personal branding ring of fire. We went over LifeWorkers having to live it and learn it to be able to pass it on in a LifeWorkers capacity and make a living doing what you love for a living and serving. And then we went over at the start, we went over Entrepreneurial Energy. So I'm just actually recapping these, because what I'm going to go do is edit the description and put all these like dot points in for us. Like, we went over an Entrepreneurial Energy and not getting too serious in your business, so that you can make sure that you keep being sunshiny, and, well, for me anyway, is keep that sunshiny aspect of myself and really keep it nice and lighthearted, but also deep and meaningful at the same time, simultaneously deep and meaningful while sunshiny. Wendy says, I'm the most excited about learning all the things that I don't know, getting clarity, motivation, and butt kicking. Oh my God, I love that, Wendy Jasper. So make sure you message me if you are not already in LifeWorkers. I would love you to be in LifeWorkers. I'd love to let you know what we're doing, the details, and get started doing our getting started. I think I may do Monday. I may start Monday. I'm thinking I'm gonna start Monday. But we are doing prep trainings in there already. Okay, if you're around at 12 o'clock, I'm going to be doing a training with the one and only Marion Rose, who was one of my clients, who now just is amazing and just completely killing it online as a life worker. Completely a life worker. So I think we're going to start Monday. We're going to do the 9 modules and start them out Monday. Stay tuned. So if you're not already in LifeWorkers, you want to make sure that you're around and you're here and you're able and you're in there for that, because it's going to change your life. I tell you what, it will. Okay, I hope you have the best day, Emma. I'm going to go and change, because I'm so hot now, because I've been sitting in the sun in jeans and my jumper. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate all the comments. I so appreciate all the shares. I so appreciate all the amazing comments. All the you manifest what I say, and the deeper I go, it just means that you're manifesting me going deeper. So everything is always channeled for you based on my experiences, based on what I've lived, based on what I've learned. Hopefully it was valuable for you, and I hope you have the best day growing into your big dreams. Make sure you message me about LifeWorkers, which is a 6-figure framework for your life's work to create your organic online business and do what you love for a living, through and through, all the way through, being as you can be. Hope you have the best day ever growing to big dreams. Thank you so much, Chief Big Dreamer. Oh, the internet is out.